Muy bien.
Good to see you too.
Just feel riding your bike around?
Yeah, for the most part.
That's good.
Yeah. What have you been up to lately? Are you still working with Rio Ray over at Salvation Army?
I'm the chair now of the advisory board.
Congrats.
Yeah, yikes. I've been part of it for 7 years, but I backed off being chair several times. It's just a lot of responsibility. But yeah, he's a great guy. It's a good organization.
Yeah, it is. They do so much work that I don't think gets talked about enough,
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of rental assistance you guys do is staggering.
Yeah. The amount of food that is given away, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, so Victoria said she'd be about 10 minutes late.
Okay. Would you like to start?
Sure. Okay, I'll call this meeting of the Downtown Subcommittee to order. And so here's a little disclosure due to COVID-19 for anybody who's watching. Due to the provisions of the Governor's Executive Orders N-25-20 and N-29-20, which suspends certain requirements of the Brown Act, and the order of the Health Officer of the County of Sonoma to shelter in place to minimize the spread of COVID-19, the Downtown Subcommittee will be conducting today's meeting in a virtual setting using Zoom webinar. Committee members and staff are participating from remote locations and/or practicing appropriate social distancing. Members of the public may view and listen to the meetings as noted on the city's website and as noted on the agenda. Members of the public wishing to speak during item 3, public comment, or during our public hearing items will be able to do so by utilizing the raise hand feature or pressing *9 on their phone. They will then be given the ability to address the committee. Okay. Shall we take roll?
Yes. Councilmember Tibbetts.
Present.
Councilmember Sawyer.
Here.
And Councilmember Fleming will be joining in the next 10 minutes or so. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll move on to item 3, public comments. So for any members of the public attending, if you would wish to make a comment via Zoom, please select the raise hand button. If you're dialing in via telephone, please dial *9 to raise your hand. Each speaker will have 3 minutes and a countdown timer will appear for the convenience of the speaker and viewers. Please make sure to unmute yourself when you are invited to do so. Your microphone will be muted at the end of that countdown. Do we have any members of the public wishing to speak?
There are no raised hands at this time.
Okay, no raised hands at this time, so I'll move on to, and do we also have, any comments via voicemail or email?
No, we do not have any comments for voicemail or email.
Okay, thank you. Item 4, new business. So it looks like I will should we bring up the presentation? Is that what we're on now, the bollards?
The first item is the update from the Railroad Square Association. Or would you prefer to start?
Okay. Great, let's do that.
Chris, if you would test your audio, please.
Good morning.
Let me go ahead and 1 second. Let me jump in first.
Okay, I apologize.
Okay. All right. So, good morning, Chair Tibbetts, and welcome to the Downtown Subcommittee. We're very delighted to have you as chair. You'll find that this is one of the most fun subcommittees that we have. Just kidding. And then good morning also to Councilmember Fleming. I understand that she'll be arriving a little bit late. But good morning, Councilmember Sawyer. Great to see you. And good morning to everyone joining the call this morning on this very cold Thursday morning. As part of the formation of the Community Benefit District in Railroad Square, our division has worked closely with the Railroad Square Association to help facilitate meetings and conversations between members of our staff and corresponding departments and members of the association board. Most recently, there was a great discussion. This actually took place last week regarding upgrades to Depot Park, which we're very excited about, in which members from our division and parks, Jen Santos, participated in, along with the Depot Park Railroad Square Association Committee. In addition, there's been a lot of planning and activities in recent months. And here to talk about that is Chris Wilson, and she is the Executive Director for the Railroad Square Association.
Morning. Thanks, Raphael. And thank you for arranging to get some of our banners that were damaged in the last storm that weren't looking too good. Thank you for getting those straightened out and taken down. Yes, we've been doing having a lot of meetings. Thank you to, I think Tim Finnegan is on this call, and I want to do a shout out for the time that he's been giving us to meet with the Depot Park project and trees and things that we're trying to get going in Railroad Square. One of our biggest projects is that we're starting first is the tree project. A lot of the trees need to be replaced and at least trimmed. So we're looking and waiting for a bid now. The plan is to probably start on 5th Street and use that as our model to ultimately replace those trees. And then we'll be moving on to 4th Street and looking at those trees. It's a huge project. So we're waiting for bids, and it will be a phased project. Also, we've been, so the trees, we've put together a small marketing committee to really try to look at some other marketing opportunities planning the year, but also for right now to support our businesses to make sure that people know that we're open down there and help our businesses. You saw that Jackson's had quite a bit of damage from the last storm, their tent, but they are now reopened, waiting for a tent. So trying to really support the businesses down there. We've met with the Hyatt, the general manager from the Hyatt down there. And again, Tim gave us time to really walk around down there and help with the getting rid of the homeless camp that was across the creek. But looking at the biggest issue, unfortunately, is the vandalism and the homeless issue down there. And the vandalism has really seemed to increase since New Year's, at least. Stores getting windows broken and doors jammed, and the Hyatt has had a lot of issues that impact their being able to rent certain rooms because of the access to the Greenway. So working with the Hyatt and the city to try to see what we can do to help them as far as fencing and getting fencing approved through for them to protect their property and ultimately make guests feel comfortable there. Let's see, the Greenway is a project that our president, Mike Montague, and all of us take very personally to try to working with Steve Urbanitz's group to help clean that up and make it more accessible for tourists and our community to be enjoying. So a lot going on, kind of just beginning a lot of projects. So more to follow. And again, thank you, Raphael and Tim, for your support.
Thank you, Chris. John, do you have any questions for Chris or staff on this item?
I do, thank you. I missed part of it because I had to change chairs, actually. The trees, Chris, what are the trees that are being replaced, and what type of tree are they using?
That's still being decided. First of all, we're waiting for a tree bid to look at the trees, to see what can be done, for some of them just to be cut back, and then to really assess which ones really would be better to remove. We can't just, we're not going to go in and just tear them all down. And there's a couple of different trees. We do have the city list of suggested trees. So they've talked about ginkgo and I forget the other one, but they haven't made a decision. Something that maybe is a little slower growing and doesn't have such a deep root system that's tearing up the sidewalks.
Yeah, because we've had such poor history with tree selection, and every once in a while they come out with a new urban tree, and then the urban tree they discover has a blight, and then they all die. No. So I'm looking at the place of least resistance as far as tree replacement it's been a real challenge downtown, especially with irrigation as well. And of course, irrigation is important. But I just kind of, it would be great to I would assume that the tree list recommended by the city has been updated to deal with the realities of urban trees that have failed in the past. I think that we've probably replaced the trees downtown 2 or 3 times, at least twice, and they're still dying. I mean, we're still dealing with dead trees because they got a blight, and we're not the only city in the state that dealt with that. But going cautiously, I would recommend. Because ginkgo sounds like a great tree, although they do have major leaf loss in the fall, which is beautiful, but also creates a maintenance issue. But anyway, it's I'll stop there. But it seems like a simple there seem like simple answers that are not necessarily so.
So thank you for that. Yes, and I do have a list. I don't know if it's an updated tree list, but that is a concern, is to really looking at something that is not only going to be aesthetically beautiful, isn't going to be a major maintenance problem. And then the other issue is the irrigation and the electrical is very old. So, yeah, for Depot Park, that's definitely an issue.
Yeah, good point. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I don't know, Victoria, are you with us?
I am with you. No questions. Thank you very much.
Okay. Do we have any members of the public wishing to speak on this item?
We have no raised hands at this time.
Okay. Shall we move on to item 4.2, Downtown Action Organization update from Candace Hinkle Allison?
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Good morning, Chair Tibbetts. Nice to have you joining the Downtown Subcommittee. I agree with Raphael. It's a very fun group. Good morning, council members, Sawyer and Fleming. It's nice to see you both again. It's been a while since we've met. I just want to start by saying thank you to everyone who has been supporting our downtown businesses. City staff are putting in a lot of work, and we're very grateful for their continued support and creativity as we keep working through the myriad of issues that are happening for all of our local businesses. It seems like a long time ago since we talked about this, but we haven't met since Winter Lights ended. So I just wanted to give a quick update on that, which was that the new version went really well. We adapted to kind of get with the times, and we got great feedback from business owners and the community who really enjoyed seeing downtown looking so festive and having activities to participate in. And we were able to install some lighting, and that's actually going to stay up year round and kind of be our, we're going to look to that as we continue working on new lighting this year as well. Just a couple of quick updates for our downtown businesses. I think everyone knows it continues to be a very tough time for our business owners. Thankfully, we've not had any more businesses close over the holidays, though we know it's maybe a struggle for quite a while. Our restaurant owners are thrilled to be able to operate outdoors again, so very grateful that happened a little faster than we were anticipating. But other than operating under the current restrictions, the main concerns and issues that come up with our business owners are really dealing with issues with the homeless population. A couple just logistical updates for the DAO. We did hold our annual meeting in January. We completed our annual report, which is available on our website for anyone interested. At that meeting, we highlighted our priorities for the year, which are to install additional lighting, powder coat some of the light poles downtown, like Railroad Square, establish a plan to prune and replace trees along 4th Street, and then also look into the feasibility of an ice rink in Courthouse Square for winter this year, future years, really. We also elected our board of directors, so I just wanted to share the updates there. Our current board is Leanna Ozziello, she's a new board member, Natalie Balfour, Zach Berkowitz, Pauline Block, also a new board member, Sonu Chandi, Raisa, Joe Dietzen, Charles Evans, Hugh Futrell, Caitlin Kurasek, also a new board member, Tom Robertson, Bernie Schwartz, Steven Stankovich, also a new board member, and Peter Stanley, who's also new, and Doug Van Dyke. Our executive committee will be selected at our next board meeting. We also have 2 new committees forming. The first is an ad hoc group to support efforts around the EIFD and the County Civic Center. And then the second is a community engagement committee, which is meant to support our businesses downtown with post-COVID recovery, and also create regular programming for summer and winter, which will, again, look to include the ice rink, but really focus on what's worked for us in the past. You know, we had 2 kind of last minute programs that we put together through Open and Out and Winter Lights. What worked, what didn't, what can we look to in the future that will work for the majority of our businesses and create a great opportunity for our community to come down. We also had a really good meeting, I think it was just yesterday, with Jason and Marisa around Public Works, and I think we've got a good plan moving forward, a couple of projects that we're going to be working on, but really just appreciate their support talking through issues around baseline services and making sure that we've got kind of a clear plan for the future with the work split between the DAO and the city. A couple updates on what's already planned and in the works. We did have one more art installation go in. Hopefully you've seen it. It's along 4th Street. You wouldn't notice unless you were walking though, because it's in some empty tree grates on the ground. So we had 6 mosaics installed of native flowers, and they're really gorgeous. So I recommend you take a stroll down 4th if you haven't seen them yet. They go from the 500 block up to the 700 block. Coming up soon, Bayside Church, who's been a really great supporter of downtown, is putting together an Easter egg hunt at businesses throughout the area. So that'll be a lot of fun for families. And we're looking forward to working with them on that. The goal is just to get families to stop by as many businesses as possible throughout a couple-week time span. So it should be a lot of fun and a great way to kind of introduce some people to the businesses that we have downtown. And I'll share more details on that at our next meeting once it's kind of finalized. We also are working with California Poets in Schools to do a poetry installation in the month of April for National Poetry Month. So that's really exciting. And we just started talking with both the museum and with Tara and her team about ways we can keep using downtown as a canvas to both engage the community and support business. So we'll look forward to sharing more details about those as we're moving forward. Quick update from our Street Plus team. Not much new there. They continue to dedicate most of their time to issues with the homeless population, especially those struggling with mental health issues. We meet regularly about once a week with Catholic Charities in the city to talk through specific challenges that are occurring. And the Catholic Charities team has been great about coming through regularly and to trying to get to know some of the folks who are longer term residents in the downtown area. But that is where the majority of their time goes, and it's often preventing them from doing other work. So for instance, this past week, we had a homeless individual pull a bunch of our plants out of the planters and throw them on the sidewalk. So it took our team a couple hours to pick those up and clean them up, and a little bit of damage from it, but ultimately hours wasted not being proactive in their work, which is tough for them. So it's definitely an ongoing frustration, but want to thank Sergeant Wolf and his team for working so closely with us, especially this past week, to address some of the more challenging individuals. it's definitely taking the support of a lot of city departments to try and address this as best we can. So we really appreciate you working so closely with us. And then finally, a quick update on the Asawa Fountain. We are still hoping to break ground soon, but don't have a date yet. So I will definitely share that. I know that's something everyone is very eager to hear about. So as soon as I have a date, I'll make sure that gets shared with everyone here, even if it's before our next meeting in March.
Thanks, Candace. Any questions from council? Okay, seeing no questions, do we have any questions or comments from the public?
There are no raised hands at this time.
Okay, seeing no hands, let's move to item 4.3, the public safety update. And it looks like we have Sergeant Wolf.
So this is Sergeant Wolf. Good morning, everybody. Few things to update everybody on. I think I'll start with the Greenway. About a week ago, we cleaned up the Greenway. There were imminent floods and the camps were in a low-lying area. Contrary to what people may have read on the press, I just want to take this opportunity to explain that not only were everyone offered beds for 3 days in advance, but we did get the most vulnerable and sick people, some into hotel rooms, some into Sam Jones. So we did house a number of people from there. And as we've seen before with the Greenway, in the days following the cleanup, there were a number of people that came back. We have done our best to stay on top of that, knowing the impacts that it has on the Hyatt and Railroad Square. Of course, with the timing being contemporaneous with the rains coming in, we did see an increase at the underpasses, which some of it was from the Greenway, but most of it, I believe, was just the weather conditions because there weren't a lot of familiar faces from the Greenway. It's been a little tough to stay on top of. As of yesterday, I know there were about 8 tenths on 9th, and we've had a few individuals showing up on 5th or 6th as well. So that's something we're definitely going to have to keep an eye on. We're also seeing an uptick in both vehicles and some camping around the Juilliard Park area. That's not necessarily related to the Greenway. It started before the Greenway, but we are seeing that, and I'm getting reports about that as well. Sharing in Cadence's frustration, downtown has picked up a bit. We've been getting reports of more campers on 4th Street. I have 2 guys from my team who have been trying to walk it in the mornings as calls for service and time allows. And that's probably had some impact, but we'll do our best to keep doing that. Staffing for DET is a little low right now, and we've decided to keep 2 guys on the weekends and 2 on the weekdays so we can continue offering some support 7 days a week. But it means we just have fewer officers available. And I want to thank the DAO because they've been great as far as letting us know when they've had major issues. As recently as a couple days ago, they notified us of 1 individual that was causing some pretty serious problems downtown. The good news is we were able to arrest him for drug charges and warrants. The bad news is the arrest happened yesterday and he was released and causing problems there again today. So as I've explained before, we're still dealing with some difficulties with the way the justice system is set up during the COVID pandemic. We do intend this year to go around as we do every year, normally on Valentine's Day, and get the trespass letters out to the businesses. The timing's a little bad as it's coinciding with some major camp operations we'll be doing. So if it's okay with Cadence, we can talk offline later. We may have to adjust the date a little bit, but I'd like to work with you on getting those trespass letters updated, a regular annual thing. And then for the Railroad Square folks, I'm aware of the issues. I've actually met with Mike Montague as well, and I want to let you guys know you are not forgotten. We're aware of the impacts, especially with the camp closing so close to your area. And we are aware of it, and we are devoting as much time as we can there. It's just really divided between a number of areas that need attention right now. So no one's getting quite what we would like to offer everybody. and I do apologize for that. We're using our resources as best we can with the most significant problems we're experiencing. And I believe that's it.
Awesome. Thanks, Sergeant. Any questions from council? Seeing no questions, Sergeant, I did have some questions for you. You mentioned difficulties with the justice system as a result of COVID. Can you expand upon what some of those problems are right now?
Absolutely. So the jails had to reduce their populations pretty extensively as a result of the COVID outbreak. What that means is people that would normally, when we book them, be held are cited out with a court date, absent it being a serious, violent, or sexually related felony in most cases. So we're seeing a lot of people that we arrest who are causing problems for whatever behavior they're engaging in right back on the streets within a few hours. So I know sometimes we even get calls from people who are pretty ticked because they're like, the problem's still going, you came out. And what they don't know is we may have arrested them and they may be back there within a few hours sometimes. So that's some of the impacts we're having. And then a lot of cases are being cleared because there was a backlog and it affected the courts and what type of cases they were willing to put on in their limited capacity. So some people previously that would have been held to a higher sentence maybe received probation or not even that, or the cases were dismissed. And so we're seeing kind of more of a brazen attitude from some of the people we deal with because they've committed offenses and essentially had few or no consequences. If that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. Thank you. So when COVID-19 is over, do you feel like you're going to have more enforcement capability than you do currently?
I feel, I mean, I'm speculating to some extent, but based on what I'm seeing, my concern is less so with the jail because their capacity should increase, but the court's going to be faced with an enormous backlog of cases. And I'm just not sure about that second part I described, if some of these cases may be dismissed or what's going to happen with them. So it's kind of tough to tell.
Okay, sure. And then my last question is, as you mentioned, staffing issues within the DET, and it sounds like there's a need for an additional officer. Will that additional officer help you address some of the issues that are popping up on the Greenway and downtown?
It would, absolutely. It would. And on top of that, we've got some injuries that I'm hoping the guys come back here pretty quick. But yes, another officer would absolutely assist with our ability to be downtown and at some of the camps that we're dealing with simultaneously.
So are you understaffed right now because you have somebody out on disability leave, or is it because there was a position cut?
Well, we had a difficult time. So our staffing is myself and 6 officers. And with that, we were kind of towing the line. We couldn't meet all the needs, but we can meet more than what we're doing now. With the 2 injuries, it's definitely impacting us. But even prior to that, we'd had some discussions because if we deal with a larger camp like we're about to go into, it can require as many as 10 or 12 officers. So, and a certain number of them need to be from this team because we have certain expertise in some of the legal factors dealing with the homeless. So effectively, when we do those, we don't have anybody available to support the downtown area. And if we did get up over 6 bodies, that's enough where we could supplement it with patrol staffing and partner 1-to-1 to manage the camps. And it would leave us at least 1 officer who'd be available to keep an eye on the downtown during that time period.
Okay, thanks for that information. That's really helpful because, we recently had a presentation from Chief Navarro where he talked about staffing needs within the police department. So I believe that's going to be coming back at some point. So this will be helpful for the members of council who comprise this subcommittee to know about. So I believe we've asked the public. Council's had the chance to ask their questions. So I think we'll move on now to item 4.4, maintenance of Courthouse Square.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good morning, Chairman Tibbetts and Council Members Sawyer and Flemings. I'll introduce myself. I am Tim Finnegan. I'm a crew supervisor for the Parks Department. With the retirement of Dean Hamlin, I've been tasked to oversee the entire park system while we work to fill his position. So going into this, I'm a little bit green and learning as I go. I had the opportunity to meet with the Railroad Square Association, as previously mentioned, on some of the concerns and so forth with the trees and Depot Park. And we were able to talk about those items, kind of got a game plan put together to look to do some trimming down there on those trees. Either with our internal staff or seeing if we can have our contractor do a little work out down there. So we had a great conversation about in general the park maintenance in that area, Depot Park. We also talked about looking at some of the trash receptacles in that area, and some work was done on doing some painting and some power washing, cleaning those. Also have a few ideas about maybe moving some of those trash receptacles in maybe a little bit better areas, better areas so the public can throw those away and just make it look a little bit cleaner down there on the sidewalks. Then we were, as far as Courthouse Square stuff, our crew has been busy with doing the leaf cleanup. Now that we're kind of on the tail end of leaf drop, our crews were working hard down in Courthouse Square, Jeju Way, doing a lot of blowing, a lot of cleaning. Had quite a little bit of storm damage with some limbs and so forth that required our crew to do some cleanup in that area. So that was all taken care of. So it's looking good down there. Looking ahead, we have our crew scheduled for next week to do some graffiti abatement in the Greenway. We've been putting a plan together with our senior maintenance worker and getting the things that we will need to do that sort of cleaning. That will include painting the graffiti on the walls, as well as some power washing and some soda blasting on the sidewalk to try to get that area cleaned up and looking good again after we had the cleanup there of the homeless cleanup that Sergeant Wolf and his team helped us with there last week. So I'm kind of excited to see how that's going to turn out. That's such a beautiful area when it's cleaned up and it's usable for our public. So I'm kind of excited to see how that's going to look after next week. Looking ahead a little bit, we are going to be working with Streets Plus on their receptacles down Courthouse Square, 4th Street, downtown area. I'm kind of doing the same thing as we did in the Depot Park area, the Railroad Square, where we're going to be doing some power washing and repainting of those receptacles. So looking forward to that in the future. Let's see. I think that's all I have. I do appreciate, and please be patient with the Parks Department. I'm the only supervisor, and trying to look over 67 of our parks, as well as 18 members of our staff, our crews. I'm being stretched a little bit thin, and I just appreciate everyone's working with me and introducing themselves to me. But I just ask for your patience, and we are in the process of refilling that position, that crew supervisor position. It's just taking some time with some of the other things going on in the city revolved around our our employees hiring and figuring everything out. So I'm glad to be part of this committee and working for you guys and doing the best I can to make the city and the downtown area look as best as it can.
Thanks, Tim. We appreciate that. Right now I'm looking up. Here's John.
Thank you. I just want to say thanks, Tim, for I mean, it's got to be, not only is it thankless, but it's never ending. And you've got to, you have like you said, you mentioned how many acres of park land you have to deal with. And it's very much appreciated, even though it feels like sometimes that it's one step forward and two steps back. We really do appreciate your dedication, especially to the core of our city, which is very important. Not to underestimate the importance or not to understate the importance of our other parks, but the downtown area has its particularly challenging areas, and very much appreciate your hard work and the hard work of your staff. I know it's not easy, but I just wanted to voice my appreciation, and I'm sure that I am not alone in speaking for the entire council in voicing our appreciation for the hard work that you and your staff do, and what you provide as far as quality of life for our city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. Seeing no other hands raised by the council, let's look to the public for any public comment.
There are no raised hands at this time.
Okay, seeing no hands raised, we'll now move on to item 4.5, Courthouse Square Bollards project update. And thank you to Tim.
And Grant, are you able to see your presentation?
I am, yes, thank you. Can everybody hear me all right?
Yes.
Great. All right, good morning, Chair Tibbetts, Council members Sawyer and Fleming. I'm Grant Bailey, Associate Civil Engineer with the Transportation and Public Works Department. This morning I'll be providing a project update on the Courthouse Square Bollards project, and this update is a follow-up update to an update we provided in July 2019 on this project. Today I'll be discussing project purpose, the timeline, anticipated schedule as we move forward, project scope, as well as design and construction considerations. Next slide, please. So the purpose of this project is to install or replace existing bollards in the square with traffic rated bollards to mitigate the potential of a vehicle entering the square. And this need was identified upon the completion of the Courthouse Square reunification project, because there are two relatively long straight stretches of roadways in Mendocino Avenue to the north and Santa Rosa Avenue to the south that have the potential to allow a vehicle to gain a high rate of speed in a relatively short amount of time. And whether it is by an intentional act of terrorism or unintentionally, if a vehicle were to enter the square at a high rate of speed, there's a significant potential for injury and possible loss of life. And so this project will install traffic rated bollards that should stop a vehicle, or that will stop a vehicle from entering the square from the north or south approaches at Courthouse Square. Next slide, please. So for the project timeline, as I mentioned in 2019, staff provided an update to this subcommittee. At that time, we were preparing requests for proposals for design build services to install traffic rated bollards in the square. In January 2020, we received two design build proposals And then in March 2020, Council awarded a contract to M3 Integrated Services of Santa Rosa, California, to carry out this project. As you're well aware, in March of 2020, the state went into lockdown because of COVID-19, and as a result, there were delays to finalizing the execution of the contract. But in September of 2020, we were able to finalize the contract and begin design work, which leads us into present day February 2021. We are now we've pretty much completed our design, and we're looking at finalizing it in the next week or two. Since the project is a design build project that's been awarded by council, we have a short timeline to get to construction. So we're anticipating starting work next month in March. The project should take about 8 weeks between installing the bollards and doing some curb ramp and ADA upgrades. So we're thinking we should be complete about mid-May of this year. Next slide, please. So for the project scope, you can see on the screen on the right-hand side there, there's a plan view of Courthouse Square. So the primary scope objective is to install 2 bollard arrays, one on the north side and one on the south side of the square. Each array is approximately 85 feet wide and span Mendocino Avenue to the north and Santa Rosa Avenue to the south. The bollard heights will be 54 inches, and they'll be spaced at 60 inches on center. In addition to the primary scope objective, we'll also be replacing curb ramps in the square on the north and south side of the square, as well as curb ramps outside of the square on the north side of 4th Street in front of Exchange Bank and 4th Street Deli, and on the west side of the square in front of the La Rosa restaurant. Next slide, please. So some design considerations. When we kicked off our design phase for this project, we engaged a number of city departments, including planning and economic development, parks, police, fire, and of course, transportation and public works, to have different staff members provide input on a variety of options on the bollards. And based on feedback we received, the final appearance of the bollards will have a jet black powder coat smooth finish with reflective tape at the tops of the bollards with a slant style top. So the bollard appearance should be very much similar to what's shown in the picture here, with the exception of the paint color being black. A couple of other really nice features about this project. From the beginning, we aimed to maintain the existing appearance of the square as much as possible. And so we wanted to replace the existing permeable pavers that are out there. And in working with our designer and the bollard manufacturer, we came up with a foundation system that does allow us to replace the pavers. So, outside of the bollards being replaced or, being upsized, the visual appearance in the square should be pretty well maintained. Another nice feature of this bollard foundation system is it's a shallow foundation system, which really minimizes impacts to existing utilities, and as a result, we have virtually no utility relocation because of this project. And then also the major consideration for this project was to ensure that we're providing a system that would protect users of the square from a large vehicle traveling at a high rate of speed. And the system that was selected does achieve that. And in the event that a vehicle attempted to enter the square, this system should only allow a penetration of up to 3 feet maximum. Next slide, please. So as far as construction considerations, we considered there are two work areas effectively part of this project: the bollard work area themselves inside the square, and the curb ramps outside of the square on 4th Street and on Courthouse Square West. And then we also considered traffic control for vehicle traffic and pedestrian traffic, and how this project would impact the surrounding businesses and residents of the square. Next slide, please. So to elaborate on my some of the points on the previous slide, as I mentioned, there are two work areas. The bollard work areas themselves inside the square. You can see it's kind of a hatched area on the north and south side, but outlining that hatched area, there's kind of a heavy dashed line here. That indicates the approximate location of construction fencing, which should bar access to the public to the construction site, as well as secure the site during construction. Also, there's some arrows around that, around the work areas, which indicate pedestrian detours to ensure that pedestrians aren't getting into our work site, or we're signing appropriately. Outside of the work area, as mentioned, we'll be replacing, outside of the square, we'll be replacing curb ramps on the north side of 4th Street, as well as on the west side of the square in front of La Rosa Restaurant. As far as traffic control goes, we don't anticipate any long-term lane takes required for this project. However, there will be some short-term lane closures to accommodate construction activities. Those activities primarily being the concrete pours for the foundation, the bollard foundation, and concrete curb ramp and curb and gutter replacements. And then for pedestrian traffic control, since we'll be removing the existing curb ramps on the north and south sides of the square, we'll be preventing access to the square, or closing down those access points to the square. We will be officially detouring pedestrians to the next closest signalized intersection at B Street and D Street. However, we do anticipate a significant amount of foot traffic will utilize the crosswalks that are unsignalized just to the east of the square and shown on the far right-hand side of this slide. And then, just to touch on the surrounding businesses, the project management team at the city and our contractor will be working with the businesses to ensure that throughout the construction process, we're maintaining access to the businesses and and to residences and any services that businesses offer. We're going to do everything we can to ensure that they're maintained in full. Next slide, please. So with that, I'd like to thank everyone for their time and open it up to any questions that there may be.
Council, any questions? Okay, seeing no questions, let's go to public comment. Any questions from the public?
There are no hands raised at this time.
Okay, last chance for questions or comments from council.
Sergeant Wolf would like to make a comment.
Yes, I had a quick question, if I may. That 3-foot penetration of vehicle, is that for any vehicle, or is that for like a passenger car sized vehicle?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So it's for a vehicle larger than a passenger sized car. Given the kind of nature of the project, I don't know if we want to go into the actual design vehicle that the bollard system's rated for, unless of course you'd like me to, and I'm happy to discuss that, the specifics around the design vehicle.
No, just the concern was whether it was like a small passenger car or if it would accommodate or stop something a bit heavier in that. No specifics needed. Thank you.
Of course, yeah, no problem.
Thanks for the question, Sergeant. Okay, so seeing no comments from council, thank you, Grant. We're going to at this time move on to item 4.7, the Imagine Art presentation And it looks like Kim Nadeau will be presenting.
Pardon, that will actually be Tara Thompson presenting.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Hi there, this is Tara Thompson. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Hello, Chair Tibbetts and Council members Sawyer and Fleming. I am here today to provide my normal public art and permitted events update, but I thought I would start off by sharing a visual, since public art is a visual medium in many cases. So this is the approved artist for the Imagine Art in Courthouse Square project, which I presented to you status updates since, last year or even the year before. It's been a long process to get to this point, but we have now selected and approved Blessing Hancock and her design Unum for the north end of Courthouse Square, the large public art project that was approved in the master plan for Courthouse Square. So after an extensive selection process that narrowed down over 140 submissions to 5 finalists, one artist has been approved by the Art and Public Places Committee. Blessing Hancock's design Unum was identified by the project selection panel as the top proposal that best satisfied the goals of the project. We received an unprecedented number of submissions from artists. 140 was our highest number ever. And from that, 5 finalists were invited through a competitive selection process to submit designs. And then the selection panel was very thoughtful and thorough with the entire selection process, especially with this final decision, and also took into account the artists' responses to their final selection questions, the public opinion that we gathered through an online survey, as well as the stated project criteria. So this piece, Unum, it means Latin. It is Latin for oneness or together, and is a signature artwork that places emphasis on innovation, diversity, and engagement as leading values of Santa Rosa. It is inspired by the themes that the artist heard through an initial survey we did out to the public about being welcoming, being inspirational, and also relaying values of innovation and cultural inclusivity. So you can see the surface has engraved, or I should say laser cut words on it. And those words will be collected through a robust community engagement process that will be beginning this spring to determine what words and phrases should be on there that speak values inherent to Santa Rosa. During the day, the sculpture will cast shadows onto the words, shadows of the words onto the square using sunlight. And then in the evening, LED lights from within will light the piece from within, creating a soft diffused glow. This piece will be approximately 12 feet high and 15 feet in diameter, and will be made of water jet cut stainless steel and LED lights. We are looking at a timeline where this piece will be completed and installed next February 2022. That's the only slide. I just wanted to share the slide, the image of this piece. You can learn more about the project, see the other finalist designs if you had not seen them previously on our website, which is srcity.org/imagineart. That's the website for the project. So the other updates that I have related to the public art program are that another exciting kind of step forward for us just last week was the Art and Public Places Committee approved a new strategic plan for fiscal years 21 through 24. And this will be an exciting way for us to operationalize some public art program initiatives and strategies moving forward for the next 3.5 years or so. I will be presenting more on some of the projects that will come out of that at a future meeting. We also, on Monday, the 8th, February 8th, will be issuing a new call for artists for a parking garage project on the 5th Street parking garage. So if you want to learn more about that, you can check out our website as well. And I think that's all I have for public art updates. The only special event updates I have are really just that the permits themselves remain suspended under our current health orders and restrictions. We have permitted the open and out street closures, the continued street closure of the 500 block of 4th Street as a part of the expanded dining space and retail space. But really all other permits are currently suspended. We are starting to get event organizers asking us about events for this summer and fall, and unfortunately there's not a clear answer to that yet. We're awaiting guidance from the county and state on how to start permitting and when to start permitting large gatherings, but right now we do not have a timeline for that. That's all I have for today. I am happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Tara. Looking at council for any questions. John?
Thank you, Chair Tibbetts. And not a question, just a comment. Tara, what an elegant piece. It's everyone has an opinion on art, and you had some really great submissions. And this was it was a hard choice when I was looking at them and this was in my top 2. And it's such a great piece on so many levels. Congratulations to the committee that had the very difficult job of selecting a piece of artwork. I have sat in that chair before, and it can be very, very challenging. And they did a beautiful job. Like I said before, a very elegant piece. I think it will stand the test of time, and it's right for our times. So thank you very much for your effort, and I look forward to it. To its placement ultimately in the square. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. Victoria, any questions?
No, I was just going to echo what John said. It is a beautiful piece, and also congratulations to the artist on getting the commission. Look forward to it.
Thanks. We'll move to any public comment.
There are no raised hands at this time.
Okay, seeing none, we'll bring it back to council for any final questions or comments. Seeing none, thank you, Tara. Appreciate the update.
Great, thank you so much.
So now I believe we'll move on to item 4.7, the parking program update.
Yes, good morning, everyone, and welcome Chair Tibbetts to this committee. I have a brief update for you. We had seen a gradual uptick in parking activity for the downtown, starting with the resumption of paid parking in July, and then with the new restrictions that went into effect in December. Of course, we saw a corresponding dip in activity, and with the resumption of outdoor dining, we've already in a week seen people coming back downtown and seeing increased activity. So that's good news. We are seeing revenues down about 50% year over year, which is not a surprise. And actually, I'm pleased to report that in comparison to similar cities, we are actually doing better than a lot of cities who are seeing 60 and 65% drops in their revenue. So I'm happy about that. I did want to remind folks that we are offering free parking options. We have the first hour free in all 5 of our garages. We've got free parking after 5 o'clock, Monday through Friday in all of the garages, and all of the garages are free all day on Saturday and Sunday. So we are offering many options for folks to park at, well, at no cost. And we also have some garage construction underway. You may, if you are parking in the garages, you may see that there's work underway right now. We're in the D Street garage. This is primarily sealing cracks to keep water out of the facilities to extend their useful life. And that work will be going on for several more months at all of the garages except for the 3rd Street garage. And then lastly, I just wanted to say that I'm really excited to be working with Tara on that new art project for the 5th Street garage. The purpose of this, besides being aesthetically pleasing and making the garage more attractive, it's also to help people in wayfinding to understand that that garage is there. It's kind of hidden behind redwood trees. And so we're looking at the corner of Orchard and 5th Street, which people can see from 4th Street and D. And so we're hoping that this project will kind of serve multiple purposes in making people more aware that that large garage is there and very close to 4th Street core. So that's what I've got for you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Kim. Any questions from council? Seeing none, we'll move on to public comment on item 4.7.
There are no hands raised at this time.
Okay, seeing no hands, we'll bring it back to council. Seeing no hands, we'll move on to item 5, matters held in committee. And thank you, Kim.
And there are no matters held in committee.
Okay, item 6, department reports.
There also seems to be no additional reports.
Okay, good stuff. Well, so we're at the end of our meeting, so I guess I'll go ahead and adjourn. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.